Okay, to all the ADFIAP members, development partners, and fellow sustainability advocates, welcome once again to Manila. I hope your stay here is not only pleasant, but also eventful and enriching. I am honored to represent the Landmark of the Philippines among industry players and leaders who are committed to creating meaningful impact in addressing climate change. This is indeed a welcome avenue to exchange best practices, experiences, and unite our efforts in pursuing a greener local and global economy. Our commitment to sustainable finance is one born from our domestic experience. Due to our location along the Ring of Fire, the Philippines is a hotspot for hazards that include floods, droughts, typhoons, landslides, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions. Climate vulnerability reports consistently position the Philippines among the top countries exposed and vulnerable to natural disasters and climate change adverse effects, I may add. In fact, according to the latest World Risk Index report, the Philippines is ranked #1 as having the highest disaster risk profile in the world. On the average, the Philippines faces 20 typhoons annually, and the number is steadily increasing from the 99 typhoons that entered the country from 2006 to 2016. And these include Typhoon Yolanda, or internationally named Haiyan, that struck the country in 2013. It was one of the strongest typhoons of all time, wreaking catastrophic damage and tragically ending thousands of lives. The agriculture sector is most vulnerable to and bears the brunt of disasters, as typhoons, flooding, and drought have resulted to a total production loss and damage of 290 billion pesos, or 5.9 billion US dollars from 2010 to 2019. Data from our Department of Agriculture shows that 90% of this loss affected crops, which severely impacted the livelihood of local farmers. The impact of natural disasters and climate change is not unique to the Philippines, but a reality faced the world over. Asia currently ranks second among countries and continents with the highest disaster risk, with many of its countries having high exposure and vulnerable to climate-related disasters. In fact, 7 out of the top 10 countries with the highest disaster risk in the world come from Asia, as seen on the screen: the Philippines, India, Indonesia, Myanmar, China, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. We read about the continued increase of average global temperature to levels that are dangerous even for human health. We also read about global warming causing glaciers and ice sheets to melt, accelerating and contributing to rising sea levels. We read about rising global temperature and extreme weather patterns that are damaging crop growth processes and livestock, decreasing food production and supply, and many more. These catastrophic effects underscore the urgency for all levels of society to take a more proactive approach in addressing environmental and climate change risks. As disasters exacerbated by climate change continue to rise, so is the financial resources needed for immediate disaster relief. Worse is the widening gap between the required and actual resources to respond to these challenges. Here is where the development finance institutions can make a significant impact to help build economies that are more sustainable and resilient. Now, more than ever, it is important to scale up investments in green projects and activities in support of national governments and the private sector. The saying that prevention is better than cure should also be applicable to our environmental focus. Extreme natural events cannot be prevented directly, but we can make proactive strides in financing preparedness measures. On our part, on the Land Bank's part, we actively support projects that help build more resilient communities and pursue initiatives to boost disaster preparedness, climate change mitigation, and adaptation. We fully understand that climate action is multifaceted undertaking. To this end, Land Bank has forged strategic partnerships with international development organizations to multiply our efforts and strengthen our united front against climate change. Let me share 3 undertakings which we actively pursue, namely the Green Climate Fund, our partnership with the UNICEF, and extending financing support to key players. Land Bank has partnered with the Green Climate Fund, or the GCF, to ensure the continued availability of climate finance. The GCF is under the financial component of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Paris Agreement. As a direct access entity of the GCF, Land Bank channels grants and loans provided by the GCF to finance local projects designed to limit or reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to climate change. We are pleased to share with you that Land Bank worked towards the approval of the very first GCF finance project in the country, in the Philippines, the Multi-Hazard Impact-Based Forecasting and Early Warning System, which aims to shift from a traditional hazard-based to an impact-based forecasting and early warning system. This is in partnership with the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, or what we call PAG-ASA, and will benefit communities in 4 disaster-prone areas in the country. Palo in Leyte, this is in the Visayas, New Bataan, Davao de Oro, Tuguegarao City up north, and Legazpi City in Albay. This is a prime example of using digital technology to help local communities take preemptive measures and improve disaster risk reduction. We likewise have 8 other projects pending the approval of the GCF, designed to promote climate change mitigation, adaptation, resiliency in agriculture, health, transportation, renewable energy, and energy efficiency, also water resource management and ecosystem management. The second program is a recent undertaking which we will expand in scope and coverage. Due to the regularity of typhoons, we are on the lookout for innovative solutions or actions to drive preparedness, one of which is our partnership with the United Nations Children's Fund, or the UNICEF, for the proactive disbursement of pre-disaster financial aid to families in identified typhoon-prone areas. Land Bank will facilitate the disbursement of cash aid for each beneficiary under the country's conditional cash transfer program, which is undertaken by our Department of Social Services, using the Land Bank prepaid transactional cards. 3 days before the expected landfall of a Category 4 or 5 typhoon. This initiative will allow beneficiaries to withdraw cash assistance of the government from land bank touchpoints like our automated tellering machines and our agent banking partners, or make cashless transactions or purchases in groceries and stores to stock up on the much-needed supplies before the typhoon hits. This anticipatory approach will reduce the cost of humanitarian response and allows affected communities to make informed decisions ahead of a humanitarian crisis. After the pilot implementation in 2 provinces, we look forward to broaden the coverage into a national scale to increase disaster preparedness in relevant communities and minimize damages caused by typhoons. The third, but definitely not the least, activity is providing accessible and responsive financing to key industries and players in climate change adaptation and mitigation activities. For the energy sector, Land Bank finances the development of renewable energy sources. And through the Land Bank Renewable Energy Program, we have approved 20 billion peso loan for 59 borrowers in support of local renewable energy projects generating solar, hydro, biogas, and biomass projects. Through these projects, a combined power output of 742 megawatts were generated to power over 600,000 households, thereby avoiding a total of 3.45 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. A notable project that we have financed is a rice husk fueled power plant in the province of Nueva Ecija, in partnership with the Green Innovations for Tomorrow Corporation. Through a waste-to-energy process, large quantities of rice husks considered as agricultural waste are converted by the power plant into usable renewable energy. This has proven to be an economical and sustainable solution as the power plant is able to generate electricity for more than 6,000 households, as well as reduce agricultural waste in the province. For the agriculture sector, we finance farming technology systems, facilities, and equipment that will sustain and improve the production of farmers and fishers. We also support climate resilient farm-to-market roads, as well as facilities and equipment that help prevent harvest and post-harvest losses during typhoons or periods of heavy rains. By improving the access of farmers and fishers to climate finance, we are supporting their increased production and income, while also helping ensure food security for the nation in the long term. For the transport sector, Land Bank is working closely with the Department of Transportation towards building an efficient, reliable, and environmentally sustainable transportation system for Filipino commuters. Land Bank offers a financing program to help public transport operators and corporations to make the shift to safer and eco-friendlier public vehicles. Land Bank has extended 5.9 billion pesos in loans, equivalent to 2,544 modern public utility vehicles or PUVs. Financing these modern vehicles has so far resulted in the avoidance of up to 14,500 tons per year of carbon dioxide emissions to the environment. These vehicles are equipped with air conditioning, Wi-Fi connectivity, CCTV cameras, and contactless payment systems. More importantly, these modern PUVs follow the European emission standards for vehicles to reduce harmful exhaust emissions and curb air pollution. We hope to have more of these modern vehicles plying our public roads for the benefit of our commuters and our environment. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope I was able to impart a few ideas which you may consider and possibly adopt in your own respective countries. I also look forward to learning from your experiences and gain new approaches that are applicable for our setting. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Maraming salamat po.